I believe this was something that I learned from Jason Fladlin, and basically is a theory in marketing. It's a 10-80-10 theory, and that theory basically says that in every single market in the marketplace, there's going to be 10% of your market that is going to buy your program no matter what. So no matter what you sell to them, they're just going to pay for it because they're in so much pain. They really want to see this work, and they have so much desire to make this work and find success with the thing that you're selling. So these people, you don't have to sell them too hard. They're just going to purchase from you regardless. There is also 10% of your market that no matter what you do to these people, they are just not going to buy from you. Doesn't matter how many testimonials you have. Doesn't matter how many proof elements you have. It doesn't matter how much you address their objections and so on and so forth. Literally, no matter what you do to these people, they're just not going to purchase from you no matter what. And then there is the 80% in the middle, these people that can go either or. So they can either get to a point where you're never going to purchase any of your products ever again, or they can get to a point where they become this part of this 10%. So the thing that separates the companies that make millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars per month from their coaching businesses and those that are struggling to make like 30K, 10K that are stuck. So let's just say 100K, 30K. So the difference between these two categories of people is how much of these 80% you are able to sway in either direction. And what truly separates a great business from a good business is any business that can sway as much of this 80% as humanly possible. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what we are personally doing in our clients' accounts to help them scale to millions of dollars per year, and how we are helping them sway more people in either of these directions inside of their business. So you need to really pay attention to this, because when I found this out, it really transformed how we approach scaling our clients' businesses and the things that we are prioritizing when it comes to scaling our clients' businesses. So the first thing is that it's going to sway people in either direction, right? Is having a big brand and authority in your space. And why this is so important is if you have a big brand in your space, it doesn't matter if you are always stuck in this 10%, because you just have more people know who you are and you're visible to a lot more people, you're going to make more money as a result of that. So let's say, for example, we have creator A and creator B, right? Let's say creator A has 1 million followers and creator B only has 100,000 followers, right? So 10% of 100,000 is, I believe, 10,000, and 10% of 1 million is 100,000 people, right? So you see, just by the nature of the volume of people who know about creator A and creator B, the 10% is just way larger, and as a result of that, they are going to know a lot more people. A lot more people are going to know about their product, and that's going to lead to much more sales for that person. So the thing here now is not everyone has that big brand and authority. And there are very few people that have a truly massive brand where they don't have to market too hard, just because so many people know about them. They have so many followers, they have so much impact, they have such a huge network, they have such insane word of mouth. They are still able to sell their programs ridiculously well as a result of that, right? So what we do in order to kind of model this big brand and authority for our clients without having a client who is like Tony Robbins or like Alex Hormozi or anything insane like that is what we call content ad strategies. And these content ad strategies is basically something I got straight from Jeremy Ins. So how this works is you're going to take your best piece of content and you're going to take content that does 4 things, right? Content that answers questions that your market has, content that answers second layer questions, the second layer cues. Second layer questions just basically means questions that arrive from questions. So let's use a med spa example, because I have a client that helps people start med spas. Let's say one question people might have is, does it cost much to start a med spa business? So the answer is no. The second layer question that will arise from that is, so how much does it cost to start a med spa business? That's a second layer question. So it's a question that arises from the answer of another question. So you're going to take second layer questions. Expectations. So expectations is going to be stuff like, how long is it going to take for someone to start a med spa, or how much time do I need to dedicate every single week in order for me to start a med spa? So you want to set that expectation that, oh, you're going to need this much time, this much dedication, and so on and so forth. and then objections, of course. You're going to take objections, and you're going to take all of these and have pieces of content that address all of these questions, second layer questions, expectations, and objections, and you're going to feed it to every single person who enters into your ecosystem. That way, you can quickly build that brand and authority and give them all the answers to the questions they will most likely ask. Help them do all the research they are going to do when they leave your page, or when they leave your opt-in, or when they leave your funnel, and create a pool of people who are truly warm enough before they enter into your sales process. So whenever someone opts in for your webinar, they purchase tickets to your challenge, they book a call with your sales team, anything they do, any action they take, you want to basically just hammer them with as many of these pieces of content as humanly possible. Just so that even if you don't have that big brand and authority, as soon as you get the few people that you get, you're able to truly maximize those few people that come into your ecosystem and feed them with as much content as humanly possible to help them scale to that next level of growth. Again, like, this is not my idea in any way. Like, this is from Jeremy Ains, and we recently started implementing this for our clients about 2-3 months ago, and it has helped us tremendously well to really just tap into this 10%, this 80% of people here and sway them into becoming likely customers and clients for our programs. So very important thing to note here. The first thing here is you need to have that big brand and authority. If you can't be Tony Robbins or like someone who has millions of followers on social media, and you can't just rely on a numbers game, you need to maximize the few people that you actually get. And the way you maximize them is by using ads to spam these people with as much content as humanly possible that does very strategic things that makes them likely to become customers when they come into your sales process. That means when they attend your webinar, when they go through your funnels, when they speak to your sales team, and so on and so forth. So that's the first thing. The second thing is case studies and testimonials. So if you've seen any big person in the coaching space, they usually have a large pool of just case studies and testimonials that is just everywhere on their VSL funnels and their webinars and so on and so forth. Basically, the more proof you have, the more you can sway people in either direction, because social proof is one of the biggest elements of persuasion. If you've read Robert Cialdini's book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this social proof, the more you have, the more effective it is. And another thing that people miss here too as well is the more you have different types of social proof for different sub-segments of your market. Like, there's one of our clients that help people get into careers. It's a career program, and there's different kinds of people that come into the program. There's nurses, there's biomedical science graduates, there's life science graduates, there's different kinds of people, just very unique people. So we want to have social proof for all the different segments of people, so that whenever you're on a sales call, whenever you're in a funnel or anything, you can easily call out specifically someone, 1 or 2 people who has that exact same scenario as this person, same race, same everything. And that's going to lead to a point where you actually have like people swayed from that 80%, because if you've seen someone just like you who have achieved the exact same goal that you want to achieve, you're more likely to purchase than not. So social proof is a huge one. And the best ones that we found that has worked effectively well and how we use them is like the podcast style interviews. When you have a prospect who has just recently had a big win, you first want to interview them. To be a one-on-one interview, maybe virtually, maybe in person. It's better in person, to be honest, because you can't fake that. But if it's virtual, that's also fine. You want to interview them about their experience. The framework that we use is like, where were they before? What made them join the program? Where are they now? What made them didn't join the program? Like, what made them almost didn't want to join the program? And then we go about common objections that people have. So let's say you help people start a med spa business, and your common objections are, oh, I need a lot of startup capital to start a med spa business. You can ask the person at the end of the interview, so how much did it cost you to start your med spa business? And they will tell you how much. And then you say, oh, a lot of people think that you need a lot of money. How true is that? And then they will talk more on that so as well. And then you go down the list of your objections that you normally get. Or maybe another one is, how hard is it to find a medical director? The person will tell you about that, and you'll be like, a lot of people think that getting a medical director is a difficult thing to do. How true is that? And then you go down that list of things. So why I love these podcast style interviews is you can now take the transcript of the interview and turn that into a Trustpilot review. And then you just need to send that to the prospect and have them approve it and put it on Trustpilot. This is how we are able to get an insane amount of reviews for our clients and our customers, because whenever we see a win, we prompt the clients to interview the prospect. Then we take that interview, we flip that into a Trustpilot review. We put that on Trustpilot. We send it to the prospect and we ask them to put it on Trustpilot and approve it, because it's basically their words that we use in the Trustpilot reviews. If you just leave people to go and leave reviews on their own, they're not going to say it exactly how you need it to be, in order for it to be very persuasive. So that's basically what we do for our prospects. So podcast style interviews are really, really good. If you follow this framework that you have here, if you look on my page, I have multiple examples of these with clients too as well. Whenever we get a huge client win, we are immediately doing a podcast style interview to interview the client and get an idea of just documenting that success story to the public. So the more of these you have, the more sales you're going to get. It's one thing that you're going to just do it and you're going to have a system to repeat it consistently, and it's going to lead to more sales for you without you having to try too hard or make too many changes to your system and so on and so forth. It just works, point blank, period. So that's the next thing. The third thing is objection handling for B and C leads. So the type of leads that majority of salespeople close, and I just figured this out recently because I've been taking sales calls for one of our clients. We're going to hire closers on that offer, but because we need to have proof of concept, I've been the one taking sales calls for that client for the last 2 weeks or so, which has been insane, by the way. So there's going to be leads that come on those calls, like with me, for example, and from just talking to the lead and the first 30 minutes, you already know this person is going to purchase. They're so interested, they're ready to go, they have the money, they don't have any objections, they just have a few questions and they're good to go. And those are the kind of prospects that majority of people close. And that falls in this 10% category that we have here, right? So the leads where you ask them questions and then they're not really answering you back in the way you want them to answer you back. They have objections. They want to go and think about it because they don't have enough conviction. They're very skeptical about the program. Those B and C leads where closing them would feel like pulling teeth pretty much. Being able to close those people is how you're going to tap more into that 80% pool of people that are either going to buy from you or are never going to buy from you. So the issue that most salespeople have is they don't even bother with those leads. They just say, oh, I had an objection and that's pretty much it. I don't care that this person is at fault. They blame the prospect and say, oh, they wanted to talk to their spouse, they were not serious enough, and so on and so forth. Or they had fear, they were uncertain, so they were not serious, they're not going to make it, and so on and so forth. That's not the mindset you want to have. You genuinely want to have a mindset of these B and C leads. If I'm able to get about half of them and close about half of them, you're going to be able to tap more into the pool of that 80% that can go either way. I was on a call with a prospect and we were on that call for 90 plus minutes because he had a financial objection and I was just really trying my best to handle that financial objection, and we were able to close that prospect. So that's someone who would have never purchased unless we had a call and I really not push aggressively, but I just made him really question his decisions and see that this is something that is going to benefit him and his family, and he ended up taking action and purchasing the program, even if it stretched him a little bit. So this is what I mean by that. So the reason why people struggle, and this is something I learned from Cole Gordon as well, the reason why people struggle when it comes to this objection handling thing is they have a framework for everything else apart from the objection piece of the call. And the objection piece of the call is where they just try to freestyle it. They don't have any specific process whatsoever to find success when it comes to that objection piece of the call, because they're just literally freestyling it. So you want to have a specific framework, and if then this framework where you use that to address the objection. So if this happens, then I do this. If that happens, then I do this. If they don't say this, this is what I say after that. You want to basically have that planned out and mapped out in order for you to properly answer these objections and get those B and C leads over the edge. So you're not always going to get leads that are going to come in and you just basically take the order pretty much. Leads are always going to have objections, and the more you can tap into those B and C leads, the more likely it is that you will tap into that 80% pool that can sway you in either direction. So all the biggest companies are able to do this. And that's why you see that some closers will have a 10%, 15% close rate, and some would have a 30% close rate, a 40% close rate, and so on and so forth. So all of these things work hand in hand, by the way. The more content ad strategies you have, the more easier it will be for your salespeople to close people on the sales calls. The more case studies and testimonials you have, the more likely it is that your salespeople will have not that many objections on the sales calls. So everything will work hand in hand. But if you do everything together, you're going to have a really good business and a really successful business. It's just inevitable that you have one where your business is not successful because you're doing all these things and you're doing all of them very effectively. So you need to be able to address those B and C leads and genuinely just give your all to these leads and try to close them too as well. You're not going to close every single person. You can't just help some people, but if you can close half of them, like 30% of them, that's already a lot more money inside of your business, because that's exact pool. This is the most realistic format of that thing, because you have, okay, 10% of leads will close naturally. There's 80% in the middle that you can go either or. You're able to close more of those 80% of people. You're going to be really, really swimming in a lot of cash inside of your business. The next thing is having setters dialing leads. So we have a client that we do a webinar funnel for. The program is about £2,499 thereabouts, and for about 6 months of running that offer to like 100-200k per month, we haven't used any form of setters or dialers. And it's the clients I was saying earlier that I just started taking sales calls for. We've hired setters, we've hired dialers now, and there's prospects that I will speak to on the phone, and they will say stuff like, oh, I tried to pay 2,499 back in December and my payment didn't go through, so I just didn't bother to try again. And they will come on the call, we will try the payment together, and that prospect will close. There's just so many examples of this. There's people who, oh, I was ready to pay, but I just felt like I needed to talk to someone to clarify a few things, and then I'll go ahead and pay. There were so many leads like that, and so many calls I've taken that are just like that, where because it's a higher price point, because it's $2,000 plus, they want to take action, but they need a few clarifying questions first. There's people where we spent about 1 hour on the call, just going through the financing process and teaching them and walking them through the financing process. That person would have tried it by themselves if there was no salesperson in place, and they would not have closed because it was just too stressful for them to figure out on their own. But because they had me on the call guiding them through the process step by step, we were able to close them. There's tons and tons and tons of leads just like that, where they just need that extra bit of confirmation and then they will purchase. If you don't have like a sales team or anything in place, and you have a program that costs more than $2,000, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're leaving a lot of people in that 80% pool, because unless there's a reason for someone to act right now, they're not going to act. And when you have $2,000 plus programs, there's a lot of logistics that comes and a lot of logistics that is involved in getting these people to take action. And you need to be able to help them take action if you want to maximize your conversion rates. So on that offer, we've just been really printing money from the sales side. The offer still makes money on the like webinar and everything side, because that's what got us to 100k plus per month on that offer. But in the last like 2 weeks, we've collected over $30,000 or so just from these extra sales that are coming in from the sales team. And if we double down on this, hire more closers, hire more setters, I'm sure we can get this offer to 500k per month plus in the next couple of months, just from dialing in all these things. So it's really important that you have this, because the magic in catching someone at the right time, at the right moment, at the right day, where everything just aligns for that prospect, then booking a call, getting all their questions answered, and then closing that deal, is going to work tremendously well if you properly structure this inside of your business, right? And then the final thing here is, of course, having a good offer. So one thing I found as well is, if you have a good offer, you're going to get away with a lot of things. And literally what I mean by good offer is just having an offer that addresses every single concern that the prospect is going to have. Like for this client I'm talking about, she has an amazing offer. I've been on a call with a prospect before where I asked the prospect what they've tried before to achieve success with the program. And literally every single thing they listed out for me that they didn't like about the previous program is exactly what we tried to solve for inside of our own program. That was one of the easiest closes of my life. And the reason why that close was able to happen was because I leaned very heavily on what they were getting in the offer, because the offer was just so good. So you want to have an offer that, not only an offer that people want, but the classic Hormozi thing where you want to have an offer that solves every single problem the prospect is facing in one way, shape or the other. If you have that in place, people will just buy on the premise of the offer alone, which is something that is really going to help. So none of these things actually work in isolation. Like everything works together in unison. So if you combine all 5 of these strategies together, you'll be able to tap more into this pool of 80% of people, and that will lead to much more revenue and sales inside of your business. So I hope this was useful for you. I hope you found value in this. If you found value, make sure you like the video and comment if you have any questions for me. If you're a coach and you want us to implement all these systems inside of your business, there's a link in the description where I talk more about how we can help you. You can check that out if you want. And yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.